By the end of today's video, you're going to have strategies of how to take your mindset from doubt and negativity to optimism and possibility. Now, I have made 3 seven-figure companies and I have used a lot of what I'm about to tell you to get there. And I didn't always have it like this. It was not always an easy process for me. I grew up with low self-confidence and more insecurities. I didn't like how I looked. I wasn't one of the cool kids. I was a chubby kid. I wasn't good at sport. I was funny, could cook, still am, still can, but I didn't have this giant bit of self-belief. And if anything, I was a lot harder on myself and I was really harsh on myself and I was just kind of anxious about the future always. And at one point I found that was such a limiting belief and it was such a limiting factor in my success because I couldn't set goals. Setting goals would be scary because I wouldn't know if I was able to get there. So I didn't want to set them. And at some point I just let this nerves and anxiety just kind of get the better of me. And I felt like I'm never going to progress because I don't know what that road looks like. And at one point I was just sticking to it. After a while, I realized I had to change this. Something has to change because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy who wants a lot of things and has ambition, but then doesn't know how to get there and doesn't think they can. Because I found people who were, I would say, less smart and less capable than me achieving way more success, just because they backed themselves in and they had this sense of self-belief. So I knew that I had to get it and I just had to learn how. And that's what I want to kind of fast track for you guys today and give you my top takeaways on how to do that. So number 1 is embrace the wins, and you have to stack your wins daily. Something I notice with people who don't have this self-belief is everything's always focused on the negative. It's like, what could I have done better? What was bad? What haven't I done? What's he doing? Like this competitive comparison, which is really negative, as opposed to the things that you are good at and the things that you're doing well. Because in my experience, when I started to focus on the wins and kind of stack them up and really gear my mind towards positive thinking on wins and what's going well, I was able to compound those. And motivation to me is momentum. If I'm motivated, it's when things either really well or really, really bad, because momentum is fun to capitalize on. And I get motivation out of momentum and that keeps me going. Just like the same way, sometimes you hit rock bottom and then you get motivated. But I promise the best feeling is when you feel like you're flying and you don't want to break the streak and you're loving the wins. So the best way to foster that and cultivate it is to not ignore them. So make sure you're noticing and embracing your wins all the time. Because after a while, you're going to rewire your mind almost into thinking, this is possible. These wins are possible. When I first started making YouTube videos, I focused so heavily on just the couple of comments, just one comment, that if someone commented, I would love that. After a while, your standards increase, and then one comment didn't do it for me anymore, and I needed more and needed thousands of views. And this is on my main channel, by the way, not this little one. But I'm back to square one now with this little one where I'm looking at the wins of can I get one comment? Can I get one person who took something out of this video? And I get really hyped about that and it makes me want to make one more. I don't look at, did this get 100,000 views? Because that's not what my benchmark is anymore. So I'm focusing on stacking the wins to keep me motivated and keep me thinking towards what could go right. Because the thing to understand about all this stuff is if you can just keep going for long enough, you'll win. It's like Hormozy says, if you can just keep going and not quit, you can always win, provided you're learning and iterating and not continuing to make the same mistake every single time. So stack your wins and focus on positivity. Pause the video one sec. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Social Blueprint, which is my company helping fitness coaches grow and scale their business. So if you are a fitness coach wanting to scale, or maybe you wanting to get started as a fitness coach and don't know where to start, click the link below. You can get a free discovery call with one of my team that'll run you through how we can help. Best case, you can chat about working with us. Worst case, you will just get an actionable game plan of just a couple of things to do by yourself in the meantime. Book in, I'll see you there, and back to the video. Next, remove junk inputs. So what I mean by this is don't spend all your time scrolling TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and just going down these wormholes of nothing, because you will feel shit. You will compare yourself to other people. You will feel like you should be doing more with your life, and you never give yourself a chance to reflect and wind down and actually look at what you want to do and reassess and even congratulate yourself. If you want to feel really, really bad, go and just scroll for 2 hours and start comparing yourself. You're going to feel terrible. If you want to feel good, read something positive. Listen to something positive. Don't give yourself access to the inputs that are going to make you feel worse. That is what I noticed with myself. As soon as I would wake up and start scrolling on Instagram, and even now, I don't scroll at all. I just avoid it because it never makes me feel better. And it took a while, but at one point I noticed, I'm like, wow, isn't it funny how every time I scroll on social media, I literally feel worse after it. I feel less capable. I feel worse about myself, and I feel like I'm in the wrong place. And that did nothing for me. Instead, when I like would read a book or just like write some stuff down or plan or just kind of be more in my own head for a minute, I would feel much better and I'd feel more capable. So instead of scrolling, just replace that time. If it's in the morning or whatever, replace it with something productive. What I always said to people was like, take the time where you usually go on your phone in the morning and scroll and replace that with like 10 minutes of reading a book. Now, the quality of the book is going to be really important too. Like, how do you want to kind of program your mind for the day? Do you want to program it based on negativity or something that is like informative or positive or makes you feel capable? So there are a whole bunch of books. I can give you guys book recommendations if you want. You don't need to read a whole book in the morning. Just read 10 minutes. Read 10 minutes in the morning. Start the day with positive inputs and just take notice of how it makes you feel after immediately and then also for the rest of the day. Quality inputs equals quality outputs. You just have to look after your mind. If you don't look after your mind, you cannot function well. I don't believe you can function well off just hustling and grinding and being miserable 24 hours a day. That is not my mantra. I don't believe that. I think you need to look after your mind and body. You have to. If you want to be successful in anything, you have to look after your mind and body. Know when you need to rest. Know when to work hard and know when to ease up. And pencil in times where you are going to relax, where you're not going to think about work, where you're going to chill, where you're going to eat a nice meal, when you're going to go hang out with that special someone. Like, pencil those times in and prioritize them. Because if you don't prioritize those times, you're going to be underperforming in the times you think you're hustling and grinding. You're going to be tired. You're going to be less productive, less efficient, just because you're not giving yourself that time to rest and kind of recuperate. So prioritize your rest like you would in the gym. You prioritize rest days. You don't grow when you're training, you grow when you're resting. It's the same thing with your mindset. You have to take the time to work and work fucking hard, and also take the time to chill and do the exact opposite of working. Next, I'd like you to change how you speak to yourself. I noticed I would always have this negative self-talk, and a lot of people critical of themselves. So if you're listening and you feel like that's you and you're critical of yourself too, be careful, because it's good to be critical in a sense, because I think it'll prevent you from being a dreamer who thinks, oh, I can do anything, and then you're just like constantly kidding yourself. But the downside of being too critical is that you will constantly pick apart at everything and nothing's good enough. And then you're a perfectionist, and all of a sudden you never get anything done because you're procrastinating, because you feel like you're just never good. And the next person who thinks it's fine, they progress much faster because they think, oh, well, this is okay, isn't it? And they put the work in, they put the reps in, even though you think, oh, but I'd never put out something like that. It doesn't matter. They're still winning because they're doing more and they're getting more experience. So this voice in your head that's really critical of yourself, we have to kind of rewire it and change how you speak to yourself. Instead of telling yourself you can't do something and that you suck, like, who's that serving? That's not serving anyone. Change how you speak to yourself and act with more compassion. Like, act with more compassion towards yourself. Like, think back to when you're like a little kid. This is like the easiest way to do it. When you like watch an old video and you're like, damn, that kid's cute, me. Think like you wouldn't talk shit to them. If you did, you're an asshole. Like, you wouldn't like be mean to that little kid version of you. So it's the same person. So don't do that to yourself now. Just because you're living in the moment and you're like critical of yourself, act with a little compassion. Talk to yourself how you talk to a friend or a family member that you love, right? Don't talk to yourself like you're the enemy just because you don't like yourself at that point in time. Be more compassionate with yourself and try and foster a positive self-talk. So every time you catch yourself talking shit about yourself and you're like, no, you can't do that, you always suck, this is why you suck, just be like, hey, hang on. Is this just me in my head? Can I be a bit more compassionate here? Can I flip it around and give myself a chance? Try that. And the more you practice, the less weird it will feel. I promise. Now, next, I'd like you to borrow some belief until you have it. So what I mean by this is surround yourself with people who lift you up. Surround yourself with people who have success as the norm. It's not like this random thing where if you're successful, it's 1 in a million. It's like, it's normal to succeed. It's normal to look after yourself. Surround yourself with people like that, because after a while, you'll adopt their way of thinking. You'll adopt their way of normality, and like you kind of fake it till you make it a little bit. So surround yourself with good people. If you don't know how to find good people, nowadays you can search online. You can pay to be in communities. My shameless plug to the Blueprint, that's what we do. People pay to be part of a solid, strong community. So whatever your thing is, you can pay to join a program and learn stuff and be surrounded by people who are like you and aspiring for more. Otherwise, search your nearest friend group and see who's killing it. The last tip I want to leave you guys with is you're either learning or you're doing. So if you don't know what to do next, learn as much as you can. I remember my brother Joel, maybe, God, how long was it now? 5 years ago. He owned his own carpentry business and he was a tradie, and he hadn't done any academic stuff since school, and he barely knew how to work Microsoft Paint on a computer. He was not tech savvy. He didn't read. He didn't consider himself very intelligent, and he struggled with a lot with this like self-belief when it came to his mindset. And what he did one day, he was just like, I just want to know more. I don't know what I need to learn, but I just need to learn more. So he started reading some books. He asked for some recommendations. I gave him some, and that kind of triggered him just like reading random books every single morning. That triggered a cascade of events that you could not possibly foresee. Like that one book might give him one idea that reads another one to look into something else. Since then, he's helped me make slouch potato pajamas. We're e-com business owners. He runs all of that. He runs his own ads for that. He runs his own business of helping people make clothing brands and scale them up as well. Like he did all of that based on this time when he was like in his life, I just don't know anything. Like he goes, I feel like I just only know my job, like his carpentry. He only knew that. He didn't know how to write an email. He didn't know how to, like literally, he just didn't know how to structure an email. It was crazy. And it was a big learning curve, right? But he was learning and doing. There's three things that you could be doing. There's learning, there's doing, and there's nothing. Right? So think right now, like where are you at? Where do you want to be at? You don't want to be doing nothing, right? Because that's what most people do. You either want to be learning because you don't know what to do, or you don't know how to do it, or you're doing it because you know what to do. So I always trying to be in these two phases of like learning and doing, because the opposite of that is literally doing nothing. And I think that helps a lot with fostering self-belief, because sometimes like Joel and my brother in that example, he didn't have much self-belief when it came to like online businesses and doing this stuff, because like, of course he hadn't done anything. Like he hadn't done absolutely anything of that. It was so new. Like how could he possibly have self-belief? But he knew he had to learn. So the more he learned, the more those wins stacked up, and the more he felt competent, and the more positive inputs he put in his mind, and the better the result was at the end of the day. And the more he was able to be compassionate with himself and go, you know what? You're not a piece of shit. You just haven't done this yet. You just haven't learned this properly. And this is something that I've experienced, but just over a longer stretch. Like over the last 10 years, I've experienced these phases of learning, of doing, of trying to better myself, of trying to level up. And they're the biggest takeaways. Stack your wins, remove junk inputs and replace them with better ones. Change how you speak to yourself, borrow belief until it's yours, and make sure you never stop learning and never stop doing. Now, if that helped, you guys to comment below what resonated, what was a good take-home point, because this helps cement it in yourself and keeps you accountable, and it helps me see who's actually watching. So I appreciate you guys. I'll be looking out for those comments. And if you're listening to this, please give it 5 stars if you're an absolute weapon. All right, see you in the next one.